Want to create a card that actually tells a story using your sentiment stamps? Well, I've got you. Today I'm playing with a fun new sentiment stamp set called the Label Slides Love and Friendship Stamp, which is part of the brand new Heart to Heart release by Simon's Stamp. Now, this card is also part of the blog hop, and today is day one, so make sure you hop over to the Simon's Stamp blog for lots more amazing inspiration from some really talented designers. And don't miss this when you make any purchase from the Heart to Heart collection, the exclusive Friend Like You stamp set will be automatically added to your order. There's also a $25 giveaway at every stop along the hop, so definitely check out the description box below. I'll have links to my blog post as well as the Simon Stamp blog so you can follow along and join in on all the fun. So let's dive right in. Now, this is the new Labels Slide Love and Friendship stamp set, and it's filled with some really fun sentiments that work not just for Valentine's projects, but also for friendship cards. And honestly, there's something in here for everyone. You can use these sentiments just as labels, or like I'm doing today, we are going to be creating a little story right on our card front. Now, there are coordinating dies available that cut out these sentiment labels, but for today's project, I'll be stamping everything directly onto our card front. Now, these sentiments are definitely going to be the main focal point of our card, but to add a little extra interest, I pulled out one of these adorable critter sets. Now, this is the cute camper stamp set. It comes with these sweetest little characters, and we'll be coloring them to bring our story to life. Off camera, I went ahead and stamped and die cut everything. Well, I'll be using three of those critters along with a little campfire to build our scene. Simon's stamp has so many stamp sets with cute critters and little elements that are just perfect for storytelling cards. I'll definitely leave links to a few of my favorites down in the description box below. Now, to start with a card, I began by stamping the sentiments. I'm working with a panel that measures 4 by 5 and quarter inches, which is slightly smaller than your standard A2 size card base, and I placed it onto my Altenew stamp wheel. Now, since we are creating more of a story style background, I wanted to include multiple sentiments directly onto my card front. To help with the alignment, I placed my grid transparency sheet on top of this panel. This makes it so much more easier to keep everything stamped in a straight line. I also bought in the critters that I plan on adding later, just to help me with the spacing and the overall placement of my sentiments. Well, I started by loosely arranging everything until I was happy with how it looked. At this point, I'm not worried about being in a straight line or being perfectly aligned. I just wanted to see if all the elements fit together perfectly within this card panel. Once that was done, I made sure that all of my sentiments were lined up nicely and that the spacing between each of them was exactly how I wanted it to be. The finished card will read, "Hey bestie, lucky to have you, our bond is a gift." Now, I absolutely love how these sentiments work together, and well, they also pair beautifully with larger word dice as little sub sentiments as well. It's up to you what kind of card making style you prefer. For me, I prefer both, the ones where I am creating a storytelling like background, or I'm using these as sub sentiments and pairing them with bigger die cut pieces. I went ahead and stamped all of these sentiments using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which gives that beautiful, crisp, deep black impression. I did stamp everything twice just to make sure I had a nice solid impression on my card panel. Now that the main panel is done, I'm going to set it aside and we can move on to the fun part, which is coloring in our little critters. Now, for coloring, I'm using my alcohol markers. These are the Uhuhu markers, and the set that I have includes both fine tip as well as brush tip. Now, the brush tip is great for filling in larger areas, but when you look closely at these little critters, there are so many tiny little spaces where the brush can easily smudge the ink. That's where the fine tip really comes in handy. Now, I have been using these markers for about 4 to 5 years now, and I honestly have zero complaints. They are really comfortable to use and come in a great range of colors. Of course, you could also use watercolors or pencil colors, but personally, I prefer alcohol markers. I just feel more comfortable and confident coloring with them compared to using pencils or watercoloring. Now, I kept my coloring very simple, nothing fancy here. I used about 2 to 3 shades per color, but there's no advanced shading technique going on here. Everything was kept nice and basic. The little guy holding the marshmallow looked like a gray cat to me, so I went with some soft gray tones, and the one holding the mug totally gave me little fox vibes. Now, let me know in the comments below, do you like to stamp, color, and then die cut? Or are you like me, where you prefer stamp, die cut, and then color? Well, I've had few too many moments where the dies didn't line up perfectly and ended up ruining a beautifully colored image. So now I always die cut first and color afterwards just to avoid any mistake. I just can't get over how cute these little critters turned out. I mean, look at those tiny little pink blush dots on their cheeks. Aren't they just the sweetest little things? They really bring so much more personality to this card. Well, I brought them back to my stamped panel, and at first I thought I'd just stick them directly onto this panel as is. But then I decided that this panel could use a little bit of background color to give the scene some depth. So I did some soft ink blending, starting with a gentle green at the bottom of the ground, and then blended in some navy blue up top, and gave it a touch of black at the very top to hint at a night sky. Now, I kept the blending light and subtle because the real focus of this card is the story, the sentiments, and those adorable little critters. I didn't want to overpower them with heavy background colors. This soft, minimal blending keeps the card looking clean, fresh, and very much my style, which is simple but charming. Now, for the green, I used Perfection shade from the Positively Saturated Ink collection, and for the sky, I went with Twilight. Now, to add a little extra depth at top, I took whatever black ink was left on my blending brush and lightly tapped it along the edges, just enough to suggest the night sky without making it too dark. If you wanted, you could also add some splatters to mimic tiny stars in the sky, but for this card, I decided to keep it simple and let the soft blended look shine. I really love how subtle this background is, and it complements perfectly with the story that we are creating on the card. It gives the critters a little place to live and make the sentiments pop even more. It's such a simple step, but it really brings the whole scene together. Now, since the sentiments were stamped directly onto the card front, I went ahead and added a little foam tape behind each of those colored critters. That slight lift gives the images just the touch of dimension against the flat sentiment, which adds a really charming pop to the card front. Now, these foam circles are super thin, so the finished card won't feel bulky at all. I went ahead and arranged each of those pieces as we planned in the beginning of the video before all the stamping was done. Now, after adhering all of these little critters and our sentiment is in place, all that is left to do is mount the panel onto a card base. I'm using a top folding A2 size card base, and I attach the panel with a bit more foam tape to give it that nice lifted look. Before we call this card finished, I wanted to add a few finishing touches to really bring the card front together. First, using my tree square ruler and a black gel pen, I added 3 tiny black dots next to the sentiments. Now, these dots help to create a sense of continuity between the sentiments, almost like they are one big connected phrase across the card. It's such a small detail, but it really helps tie everything together visually. Now, once I had my dots in place, next I grabbed my white gel pen to add some highlights and tiny dots on the critters and the little campfire. These subtle details make a big difference. They give the critters a bit more life and dimension and add just enough sparkle to make the scene feel complete. It's amazing how these tiny little touches can elevate the entire card and make it look more polished and finished. And that's it. Our little story card is all finished, and I absolutely love how it turned out. From the sweet sentiments to adorable critters and that soft blended background, every little detail comes together to create a charming, heartfelt card. I hope this video inspires you to create your own story cards using sentiment stamps and fun little characters. You don't need complicated techniques to make something truly special. Now, if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to check out the links in the description for all the stamps, dies, and the supplies that I used in today's video. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.